This is Television Nigerian, a broadcast network committed to serving you the very best in online and offline television programming. Situated in the serene environment of Guzape, Abuja FCT, TVN, as it is fondly called, caters to a wide variety of audience via carefully orchestrated mind-blowing programs in the areas of fashion, business, politics, entertainment, religion, movies, food and health, culture and lifestyle, events around the globe, sports and foreign news. Whatever your inclination, we've got you completely covered with programs like Issues of the Moment, The Patriot, Daybreak Nigeria, Matter Africa, TVN Business Time, Healthy Living, From the Cradle, Stay Inspired, Entertainment Gist, Movie Hour, Hits Paradise, among others. All designed to keep you thoroughly informed, entertained, at the edge of your seats and yearning for more. A tour around our domain will reveal a highly dedicated staff force and a state-of-the-art facility and equipment for high-definition quality broadcast, making our station your #1 choice in advertising your business and propagating your ideas. We are currently on NigComSat doing our test transmission for takeoff in the nearest future. Television Nigerian is located in Nigeria at Television Nigerian House, Guzape Hilltop Mansion, beside Guzape White House, Guzape Abuja FCT, and in the United Kingdom at 45 Ancient House, 48 Aerodrome Road, Beaufort Park, Colindale, London. For inquiries, Television Nigerian, broadcast beyond boundary.
Welcome to Spectacle. President Donald Trump of the United States of America is to face another new impeachment trail. Trump has just 11 days to hand over power, or probably inauguration of Joe Biden into the office. Now, we want to know whether this impeachment is what is going to be possible, or the 25th Amendment to be revoked or to be invoked against him. Welcome to Spectacle. I am Daniel Atai. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, I shall introduce to you the analysts in the studio that will do justice to this very topic. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
How could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Sally Mama, there is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television. Welcome back. With me in the studio are two comrades, two gentlemen. By my far right is Comrade Dantata Salihu Mahmood. He is the acting chairman of Arewa Youth Consultative Forum for Security and Peace. And I have by my immediate right Comrade Great Felix. Great Felix is the Vice President, National Youth Council of Nigeria, North Central Zone. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Spectacle.
Thank you for having me.
Now, without delayance, I would like to put it forth to you before I introduce the background report on the 25th Amendment and the possible impeachment trail that is coming against Donald Trump now. I'll start with you, Comrade Dantata. Do you see what is at play in the United States of America as something that will remove Trump or stop the inauguration of Joe Biden come 2021, 20th, this month?
Well, you see, in my own intellectual analysis and personal view, I've been conversant and in tandem with international politics. I think what is happening in America today is democracy in action and not an individual issue of Trump per se. That is to people who takes it to the advanced level, because when you rate American democracy, it's like a four-star democracy, it's like a first world democracy, and a democracy that other smaller third world countries like Nigeria and others are emulating and copying. So I think what is playing out there is supremacy battle between the Republicans as well as the Democrats. If you observe, most of the times you observe that if a Democrat candidate is in power, he does up to 8 years. The same thing with Republicans, even with histories of presidents in the United States who have had first terms in offices and second time losing, like Trump. So I think in a way it cannot stop the inauguration of Joe Biden. As well, I don't foresee possible impeachment because, mind you, in the Congress as well as the Senate, there is a two-way thing. There are senators as well as Congress members who are of the Republican Party as well as the Democrat Party. So I don't foresee the senators under the platform of Republican Party or the Congress members going against their party interests to support a possible impeachment, even though at the time the invasion happened, all of them were there.
Yeah, all of them were there in the Capitol Hill, that is both the Republicans and the Democrats, and they have seen or tagged it as an insurrection by Donald Trump and his supporters. Do you think it's about partisanship, just like the way we practice in the third world countries?
Well, when you talk about politics, in the first place, if you go by its definition, it's all about interest. And you cannot rule out partisanship, because the issues are, if you must be a politician, you must defend the interests of your party, you must defend your own interests.
Even if the party ideology or blueprint are not followed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you are even talking about ideological balance and all of other things, I think for over years now, many parties, whether internationally or domestically, have not been living up to that. So if we are to go by ideology, President Trump wouldn't have even emerged, because when you look at the powerful people like George Bush Jr. and host of others that hold Republican, he even defied their own control and their dominance and emerged victorious as the Republican candidate subsequent to the general election that he won. I can tell you most of the stakeholders of Republican never supported Trump. Trump single-handedly waylaid them, put them behind and moved ahead. So that itself informs you about non-generality as well as partisan and one-way based what have you, that is devoid of ideological expectations and host of others.
All right, I'll come back to you shortly before we introduce the distinct. Let me ask Comrade Felix. I know you are a Trumpist from your post and so many online activities. You supported Trump and you want him to remain as president. But right now, the Congress and the generality of American people are saying that Trump, particularly Patricia Pelosi, the current Congresswoman, the Speaker, said that Trump abused the power of his office. Do you see the impeachment as a trail to that abuse of power?
All right, thank you. I want to start by saying that we've all been on the lookout and watch out for what is playing out in the United States of America Reason being that, like you rightly said, they foster democracy. What happens in America should interest everybody, every lover of democracy across the world. As much as we see democracy in action, you cannot totally separate ego war and gameplay from what is playing out in the United States. With the issue of Pelosi and Trump, it dates back to when the administration even began. They have been at loggerhead. It has been in the public view or in the public domain how they are not so aligned. And I believe when two elephants are fighting, is the grass that suffers. You know, at this point in time, what they should focus on in the United States is for a peaceful transition. Trump has come out openly to say that he's committed to a peaceful transition, and this is the time where Americans should heal. Beyond the electoral rhetorics and all that has played in time past, I think it's time for democracy to continue to grow in the United States as the temple of democracy. And the impeachment call, Joe Biden, the president-elect, Mr. Joe Biden, has come to say that his focus is on transition. I feel the best way out now to healing after the whole drama, the whole gameplay, the whole fight that has torn America apart is to allow for a peaceful transition, as much as is within the constitutional responsibility of the Congress to come up with impeachment or whatever they're talking about. I feel it's not the right thing to do at this time. Because like Trump said, there are 75 million Americans, all right, that voted for him, and they are still there. At this point, what President Biden should be focused on, like he said, he should be focused on uniting America and fighting this pandemic that is already a major case in the United States.
All right, you heard Trump before the invasion of the Capitol building saying to his supporters nearby the Capitol that they should fight like hell in order to what? Stop the stealing. In other words, he wants them to go stop Congress from counting the vote that will adopt Joe Biden as the president-elect and possibly to stopping the inauguration on 20th. Also, you have seen some international reactions, especially the one of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, saying that U.S. is one of his greatest enemies, especially right now that we are seeing the power play between Trump and the Congress and Joe Biden. This hula baloo and brouhaha that is happening there now, do you see any adverse reaction from the international community if Trump is truly impeached or removed by the 25th Amendment?
Well, I've been a friend and supporter of President Trump way back from my secondary school days when I started reading his books. So our friendship dates back beyond transcends his becoming the president of the United States. If I understand Trump, we have been reading his books, and I think I can relate with him. When he told his supporters, you don't expect Trump to be quiet. This politics is warfare without bloodshed.
But this time there has been bloodshed.
Yes, I'll go to that. You know, you don't expect him to be quiet. He's a sitting president. If not because of the strength of their institution and the strength of their democracy and how long they have practiced it. In Africa, you can't unseat and they will fight to the end. It doesn't matter if it upturns the whole country. But he has told his friend, if he told his supporter, if I got him right, which I believe I did, he told them, he said, we have to take back our country. We have to be strong. We have to, you know, you say we don't have to be, it's not in a literal sense. When he was motivating or when he was charging or talking with he's a leader, he's a politician. As a matter of fact, he was a sitting president. You know, he has to demonstrate that courage to his followers. His followers have reservation with the outcome of the election. Trump himself have reservation with the outcome of the election. He believes he has not been treated fairly by the institution that should give him fair hearing. You don't expect him to fold his hand. When he told them, he did not tell them to use strength to exert a physical strength.
Now they say fight to like hell. Anyway,
you know, the fight I'm talking about in literacy, a president can, if he say fight like hell, I didn't see that statement anyway. But I believe what he was telling them, he told them not to be weak. I saw him use these two words, weakness and strength. But going to invade capital is totally out of it. And like you just said, from the look of things, you don't need to be told that there was an undertone to that. We just had NSAS protests in Nigeria. You know how it started, and you know how it ended. It began as a peaceful protest, and it was hijacked by hoodlums who are faceless, and up to date, nobody has been brought to book who are attacking peaceful protesters on the streets of Abuja or in Lagos. That was what happened there. Trump supporters have come out to say that Antifa infiltrated the rank of the protest. And if you look at the regalia and what they put up there, and you relate it with pictures that have been circulating all over the social media, you know how the Antifas behave. And I'm not surprised that the protest was going to be hijacked. It's within their right, their democratic right, to peacefully protest, to pass a message about their grievances with regards to the outcome of the election. But invading that thing, I think it should be critically looked into, because they were infiltrated by the Antifas. Okay. And I know those who are behind that. You know, it's politics.
Okay, and now you sound like you are apologetic on behalf of Trump.
No, I'm not apologetic. No, I'm not apologetic.
It's okay.
We condemn what happened
but
there.
The invasion of the capital was
condemn it,
completely
and
wrong.
The security agency should look into it. We even learned the security officer lost his life.
Yeah, of course.
You know, they should investigate that. The criminal element that hijacked that democratic process should be brought to book.
All right, we will look at the 25th Amendment again if the impeachment pursuit is not possible. By this little reportage that we have, we are going to understand what the 25th Amendment is, and of course we already know what impeachment process and the compositions of impeachment takes, and we don't see that very possible between now and just 11 days for Trump to call it a quit from the Oval Office. Enjoy the video. What is the 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? This amendment lays out how a U.S. president and vice president may be succeeded or replaced. According to Cornell Law School, the 25th Amendment was an effort to resolve some of the continuing issues revolving about the office of the President of the United States of America. That is, what happens upon the death, removal, or resignation of the President, and what is the course to follow if for some reason the President becomes disabled to such a degree that he cannot fulfill his responsibilities. The amendment has 4 sections. The first section codified the traditionally observed process of succession in the event of the death of the President, that the Vice President would succeed him to the office. It also introduced a change regarding the ascent of the Vice President to President should the latter resign from office. In the event of resignation, the Vice President would assume the title and position of President, not acting President, effectively prohibiting the departing President from returning to the office. The second section of the amendment addresses vacancies in the office of the Vice President. Of course, if the Vice President becomes the President, there would be an automatic vacuum in his previous office for a replacement. The third section of the amendment set forth the formal process for determining the capacity of the President to discharge the powers and duties of office. If the President is able to declare his or her inability, then the Vice President takes over as the acting President. In case the President is unable to declare his or her incompetence, then the fourth section of the amendment requires the Vice President and the Cabinet to jointly ascertain this to remove him from the office. And if they do so, then the Vice President immediately assumes the position of acting President. It is this fourth section that many in America are asking Vice President Pence to invoke against President Donald Trump. In the aftermath of Donald Trump's supporters storming the U.S. Capitol, many have urged, of course, the Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. Of course, supporters of President Donald Trump climbed the west wall of the U.S. Capitol, otherwise in Nigeria known as the National Assembly, on Wednesday, January 6, 2021, in Washington. In the immediate aftermath of Donald Trump supporters storming the U.S. Capitol building, which houses both the U.S. Senate as well as the House of Representatives, there are calls by many already to either impeach President Trump or invoke the 25th Amendment. And you may want to ask, when was it introduced, the 25th Amendment, and has it been used in time past? It was introduced after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The 25th Amendment was proposed by U.S. Congress on July 6, 1965, and ratified by the state on February 10, 1967. According to Cornell Law School, the Watergate scandal of the 1970s saw the application of these procedures first when Gerald Ford replaced Spiro Agnew as vice president, then later when he replaced Richard Nixon as president. 2. When Nelson Rockefeller filled the resulting vacancy to become the vice president. However, the fourth section of the 25th Amendment has never been invoked. Perhaps the American nation wants to use that now, invoke that section, fourth section of the 25th Amendment of the United States of American Constitution against Donald Trump in the aftermath of the insurrection of Donald Trump's supporters on the U.S. Capitol building. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Put me on. Welcome back. And that has been just a preamble about the 25th Amendment of the United States of America's Constitution. Well, we are in Nigeria, but America affects us all. What goes around comes around, isn't it? So, Mr. Dantata, I would like to ask you, invoking the 25th Amendment or the impeachment, do you see Trump as incompetent of discharging the duties of his office as required by Section 4 of the 25th Amendment?
Well, even though I'm not an American, I'm just a public commentator. In my own view and perspective, I would say it lies on the Congress of the United States of America. Like I told you initially, this is an issue of interest, this is an issue of party, and this is an issue of trying to put the record straight for certain people to know that there are gray areas in certain things that happened. If you observe in Africa, most especially, when the Democrats are in power, we are always at advantage than when the Republicans are in power, including the people from the Arab nations, entirely the Asian countries. Because if you observe the Republican policies, there are policies that are more or less militarized, where if decisions are taken, they don't give option B to it. So if you look from even what happened at the Capitol, even though it almost happened in our own Nigeria here, don't forget at the time the Jonathan and Buhari elections were concluded, when the final vote collation and other things were going on at the International Conference Center before Professor Jega and others, the Bello Fadile of this world, as well as Uru Bebe, who was Niger Delta Minister, you knew what they wanted to do. So that is exactly what is happening in American soil today. So I think it lies on the Congress to see whether he is competent or not, because whatever incompetence certificate we give him from this part of the world, mind you, in American soil, anything that has to do with Africa, especially Nigeria, they don't take it lightly, because they know we have people who are intellectuals. There are a lot of people that are contributing to the political, economic, and
now your vast knowledge of international politics and human behavioral characters, do you see Trump as competent to discharging his duties as president?
Well, if you look at, if you want me to place President Donald Trump somewhere, you should be in Hollywood, because most of his behavior are unbefitting of a president and commander-in-chief. Because when you take an oath, you swore to protect the interests, the territorial integrity, and everything that has to do with the United States of America. There are certain behaviors that are not expected. It's just like our own President Muhammadu Buhari now, going out to sit somewhere and talk on insightful statement. Mind you, before the invasion of the Capitol, there were statements he did, and after all, it came afterwards. So I think if you ask me, in my own personal view, I don't think President Donald Trump is good in business, is good in the entertainment industry where he was coming from, but to say you come and you hold certain briefs for Americans and whatever, because you have to be statesmanly. You have to have zero tolerance for certain issues. So there are certain statements that are not supposed to come from the mouth of a president of a police country, a superpower country like United States of America. Like I told you, a lot of second world country, third world countries, they look upon American president. They look upon American Congress. They look upon everything that comes from America. Therefore, you need a total gentleman who will be hospitable, accommodating. We guard statements. We know what is right, when and how, and not to say statements that are supposed to be used in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry.
All right, let me turn to you, Mr. Great Felix. Of course, Trump is either going by the 25th Amendment or impeachment, though he has been warned. The Electoral College and even the Congress have declared Joe Biden as the president-elect. Which one would you prefer? For him to go amicably or go by the invocation of the 25th Amendment or impeachment?
Well, thank you. Until the inauguration of President Joe Biden, Trump remains the commander-in-chief of the United States. And as I said earlier, the president-elect in the person of Mr. Biden has come up openly to say that his focus is to see how fast they can get him out of office. And the only way, the fastest way to do that as it is through the transition. The transition that Trump has committed through his last statement to see to it that there is a peaceful transmission. And he also called for healing for Americans, that this is the time they must come together. Because this division, if it's allowed to fester further, is going to break into the crevice of what holds them or binds them together as the greatest nation on earth. So the move to impeach President Trump, like I said earlier, there's serious interest at play. There's also ego at play, and you don't expect a Congress that is headed by Pelosi to sit and do nothing. So what they are doing is normal.
No, but let me come in this way.
Yes.
When you accuse Pelosi of having an animosity towards Trump, don't forget that Democrats called in 2019 for Trump's impeachment, and Pelosi danced around it for 5 good months. But now it took her just one day, on the 7th of this January, to agree to Congress for his impeachment or the invocation of the 25th Amendment. Now, if that is carried out on Trump stands the chance of not being elected or aspire into the Oval Office of President come 2024. That is the question I'm putting forth to you as a Trumpist, that is it proper right now for Trump to go in peace without impeachment or the invocation of the 25th Amendment, or either of these two options should be meted at him as a deterrent for insurrection?
Well, I believe, like I said, he remains the commander-in-chief till President Biden takes oath of office on the 20th of January, as we expect. Until then, I see the best way to get Trump out of office is to wait for the transition. The time left for Trump to finish his administration is barely 11 days. And I think the time is not on the side of the Congress. If they must also focus on a peaceful transition. And like I said earlier, at this point in time, America should look beyond Trump. America should look beyond the moment and look to the future. Because what has transpired under this election, 2020 election, is an embarrassment to the American community as a whole, both from Republicans and Democrats. And until the result of the investigation is out, I maintain that there is an undertone to that peaceful protest that turned out to become chaotic in nature. And then we, as lovers of democracy, I condemn what happened there. I know that wherever there are peaceful protests, opposition could actually infiltrate them. And you know the Antifa terrorists are anti-Trump. So we had a report that several trucks of Antifa terrorists were dropped to infiltrate the Trump protesters that day. And if you look at their regalia and what they're putting up as captured and displayed partly on the social media, you cannot say but that they have been infiltrated. Because we know that for them to have been there was to mark their presence, that they are not happy with the result, and they were shouting that their result must count, must count. But breaking into the capital is condemnable, and I maintain that I believe that opposition players have hand in what play that day, because Trump is smart enough to know that that is not the best thing to do.
He was even smart enough to have used incisive statement.
Well, you call it incisive statement. In that case, you may say that Trump has been inciting people all along, because Trump is a very open person. If you notice, one of the characters of Trump is that Trump is not a man that believes in political correctness like Obama. He speaks it as it comes. He's not a career politician, we know. And he's a man that is frank. And for that reason, some people like him.
Are you agreeing with your colleague here who says that he should be in Nollywood?
No, I don't agree with that. He's a very frank man. You understand? Yes, we know he has stepped in the way of the big techs. He has stepped on big toes. But he's a man that believes in his conviction. He's a man that believes in his people. And what we should learn from Trump now is a man that places the interests of his country before any other. And these have triggered offense across board, or globally. But I believe that is it. Now, if Trump loves his country so much, should every president love their professed love for their country and demonstrate it the way Trump has done it? I believe that we will not be. Our countries also will be a better place.
Now, when you talk about interests of a country, like opined or postulated by Trump and Trumpists, could interests of a country be more than the systems that drives the country, especially democratic systems like the judiciary, electoral college there, and voting system, the Congress, and so on? So these are institutions of democracy that America has preserved over time for more than 250 years or so. Now, could Trump be more patriotic in his incisive words and what happened that you have seen over time, and the recent one in the Capitol, that is a preservation of his country?
Well, I look at it that, before now, if until this happening, we see America as a heaven on earth where there is no corruption, a country devoid of corruption, no sharp practices and the rest of it. But Trump himself have come out to say that even the judiciary there is corrupt. They lost confidence. The whole thing that the judiciary could have as well averted this happening. But he lost confidence in the judiciary. The system as a whole is working against him.
On selfish ground,
it was believed that even
on constitutional ground.
Yes.
On selfish ground or on constitutional ground. When it goes your way, sometimes you like to praise the system. When it doesn't, you condemn it. But Trump, as a matter of fact, appointed majority of those people there that made up his cabinet, even in the judiciary, in the other arms. So what justification does he have to say the action of his supporters are, planned by opposition parties?
Well, Trump, in my opinion, is a very decisive leader. He's a very decisive president. Right from when he was campaigning in his first term, he was sounding very, very tough, and he matched action with words. And he has sustained that over time. I see Trump as a consistent person with what he says. So Trump being politically correct or speaking anyhow, or like you questioned earlier that should he be in the Nollywood? I said no. He's frank. He's sincere. He has continued to say that American first, and his policy and his politics and style of leadership continue to connote or to represent what he has said. He said American first, and he keeps telling them. Like I said, until this happened, we didn't know that there is corruption. Trump himself came and said that the system is compromised. He has lost faith in the judiciary, and he has lost face in the House. And I believe that was why those who voted for him went there to also protest and then, convey their grievances to the Congress.
All right.
That there was malpractice or whatever, there was fraud, a widespread fraud in the 2020 election.
And do you believe the system was malpracticed or hijacked by opposition parties, the Democrat?
Well, from the look of things, all that went down there, the president continued to maintain, and up till now, he has not congratulated Joe Biden to also state how convinced.
No, I mean the president have his opinion already. He has his mindset that yes, he was rigged out, forgetting that the same system that brought him to power was what announced the victory of Joe Biden. So I am trying to contrast between you, his supporter.
Yes, I believe there was malpractice in the 2020 election, and that is also because there is no perfect election anywhere in the world.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Dantata, you heard your colleague in the office, on Spectacle, saying that, yes, there was possibly malpractices in the election that enthroned Joe Biden as the president-elect. In your opinion, he also said, the question I want to throw to you now, he also said that Trump is fighting for America. Now, between Trump and the system of America, which one should people, followers, be loyal to? Trump or the system that affirms America as God's own country?
Well, let me tell you one thing. Whether God's own country or whatever,
or the best democracy in the world.
If you observe from the foundation of America coming together, it's a country that has people from different backgrounds. That is why today you have people from Canadian origin, German origin, French origin, Arabian origin, Nigerian origin, and what have you, coming together to form the 50-something states of the United States of America. So I think over time, the God's own country slogan has dropped, going by faulty system like Trump presented. Because in a situation where you have a police that humiliate on racism, especially against the blacks, you must have retrogression. In a situation where you have a faulty criminal justice administration, you must have that problem. So I think based on that, I would say politically, the loyalty should be to the candidate and the party. Because if you are in a state where you no longer have integrity, there is no longer honesty of purpose, there is no longer selflessness, patriotism is not there, it's self-centered interest, myopic interest, and other double standard nature in the judiciary, policing system, and the polity. What you have to do is your candidate and your party, and that is what you are seeing the supporters of Trump demonstrating. Like I told you, we in Africa, we are always happy when the Democrat takes power, because their policies normally favor Africa 60%. And that is why anytime it comes, even Nigerians that are in diaspora, especially in America, they jubilate whenever Democrats take power. Because when you look at even the foreign policy of the Republicans, it's aggressive, it's militarized, and it's not all inclusive. When you also look at most of the executions of the Republicans, there are things that are done only for American interests, no interest of any nation, whether second world or third world country, is considered. And mind you, there are Nigerians, there are other people from Ethiopia, people from India, people from even countries that are not having good relations with US, like Cuba, Venezuela, that are become naturalized in United States of America. And there is that tendency that such people that are naturalized can become supporters of anybody. So that is where the interest of loyalty to
So America is not for Americans, it's for the whole world.
It's for the whole world, and that's why we call them superpowers and police of the world, because whatever goes wrong in America also affects other smaller countries, because economic ties, diplomatic ties, political ties. Why is it that most of our military hardwares, our security gadgets, we get them from there? Look at the 2020 armaments and weapons for the Nigerian army. We had to look for the ban to be lifted by America for them to agree to even make us import their arms that even a component of it has not even arrived. That is to tell you how important America is, just the way Russia is important to the world, just the way other countries like China are also important. Today, there are countries that the moment America, China, Russia, and others takes away their ties with, they cannot even survive. So whatever happens in America, and mind you, under this Democrat victory, a Nigerian 23-year-old is going to be like an advisor to Joe Biden. So that is an advantage, not even to Nigeria alone, to Africa. So the issues are, party politics has to go to individual and party. So if anybody says
loyalty,
that is even in Nigeria, in wherever, it's just like asking PDP member now to go and be loyal to Buhari. You cannot get it. So the same thing applies to United States of America. So whether God's own country, superpower, what have you, it has to be the party loyalty first and subordination before the interest of the nation at large.
Well, thank you very much. Viewers, you can join us. We are live, and you can join us either through phone call or WhatsApping the numbers displayed on your screen. But for the vision impaired ones, the numbers are 08137015949 if you have your contribution to make, or 07054327616. The first line is WhatsApp, and you can send in your message even through Facebook or any platform you are watching us from. We can air it here. I will come back to you again, Mr. Dantata. You made a point while I was calling that number for the audience to react or contribute to their quotas, that America now should not be seen from the perspective that Trump and one of his supporters here is saying that he's fighting to defend the people of America. Do you see this action and his going by either the 25th Amendment or by impeachment affecting diplomatic ties in the international community?
Beyond that, like I told you, whatever happens in America reflects in other countries, especially the developing nations. So they shouldn't set negative precedents, because when in just 11 days is going to exit, Joe Biden is going to...
You remember the North Korean man, the leader,
yes,
Jim Kum,
yes,
is already warming up with missiles. We don't know whether he wants to stop the inauguration.
The North Korean leader was somebody that Trump played positively on him, because if you observe, during the Trump days, the tension between North Korea and America died down to a certain percentage.
Yes.
And he is foreseeing that the taking over of Joe Biden might reignite this tension among them. So he better defend his interest before now. So that is why I'm saying whatever they are doing.
He's already rolling out ballistic missiles, waiting for action.
The consequence of the impeachment is going to negatively impact on political developments in many parts of the world, because it is this same America that give aid for countries to survive politically, that goes and mediate, that goes and make truce. So if something is now wrong from the father, what do you expect the children to do? Like, I want to tell you, without America in the world, among the Committee of Nations, there are many inhabitants, many citizens of many countries that by today wouldn't have been economically empowered. Today, even our own Nigeria, take the people from the southwestern part of Nigeria who form chunk of even American population, in part our Yoruba brothers and sisters, and to some extent people from south and southeast. I would say our northern people are not disturbed, they like to go abroad anyhow, except maybe there is this brother that is there, or maybe there is a walk, something there. But our other brothers from other geopolitical zones, go and see. You can see Amala joints in the heart of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and also others. So that is to tell you that whatever goes wrong in America, we have negative impact on us politically, because it is them that some of these our dictators and iron leaders are looking up. If tomorrow they impeach, tomorrow somebody in Nigerian legislature can also wake up and use hatred to impeach somebody who can deliver. So why not wait until that 11 days elapse? The Biden takes over and decide to do whatever they want to do. They can at worst institute inquiry or set up judicial panel and host of others that is within the ambits of the executive of the United States of America than unnecessarily and carelessly going on vendetta by instigating the Congress to impeach. And mind you, it is not only the Republicans that makes the Congress of the United States.
There
are Democrats there.
Of course.
Are you foreseeing them concurring with the Republicans? No, of course. Opposition will play out there. And you know America, they play politics without bitterness. Once it comes on issues of national interest and development,
national patriotism,
they will not compromise.
Thank you very much. This last question before we take a short break to you, Mr. Great Felix. You notice that Mr. Trump never congratulated Joe Biden. That is one. He also tried to stop the inauguration, the smooth transition process. And he also, you can see that of recent, the 6th of this month, invasion by his supporters, but you say the Antifa or whatever you quote them.
Antifa terrorists.
Yeah, you say they are domestic terrorists,
Yes.
but they went there to stop the Congress counting of the vote that will enthrone Joe Biden on the 20th. Now, are you envisioning any possible consequence on the 20th of January 2021 on the inauguration day?
Well, I want to align with my colleague, like you rightly said.
Any threat, whether international or domestic threat, since Trump is still not friendly with the victory?
Well, I don't foresee any threat because I know that even Trump himself is not happy with what went down.
He says it's not going to be there.
Yes, it has not congratulated Biden.
He said they won't be at the inauguration.
Because he believed he was cheated, he was robbed. His mandate was stolen. And most of his supporters and followers have aligned their thought with him on that. Do you understand? So if you say it is not going there, it will not stop the peaceful transition. They have all the tools, the transition committee has all the tools, and then the intelligence community, they have all the requisite power to make sure that the transition is a peaceful ceremony. And then let's see what happens or what Joe Biden has to offer to the people of America, and even let's see how he will go with his international policies. But with respect to impeaching Trump, I want to say that, first of all, I don't see that happening. And in case where it happens, like he said, it will have a far-reaching effect. Because we, smaller countries that look up to America as a model democracy, are good at duplicating things, and then it will also cause serious instability in our local politics too.
So internationally, the consequence will be high.
I don't see an impeachment because the House is not just made up of Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah, the Republicans are not just going to fall down there and then allow the Democrats to impeach Trump. All this that is happening is just because they just want to embarrass the man out of office. As much as Biden
they want to embarrass him, or he is embarrassing himself.
From the way you are speaking, you are not speaking on a neutral ground anyway. I know your position on this matter, but I'm unapologetically a Trump supporter. Okay. I'm a friend of the president.
That is why
Trump.
I brought you so that you can engage us.
Yes, I'm unapologetically a supporter, but I don't see Trump being impeached.
Okay.
Yes, I don't see Trump resigning. I don't see him being impeached. All I can say is that I align with his position last time, that he has given way for a peaceful transition. And I don't think he's standing in the way of transition.
Okay, your last note, advice for the outgoing President of the United States of America from TVN. Your advice to him now.
Well, I want to wish him well. He has done so well for his country. He has done so well. He has been part of history. Yes, some people may not agree that he has been part of history for good. The mainstream media, I don't need to mention names, but the mainstream media has not been on the side of the president. They have never projected him in any good light. All the he has done so much for his country per se. You literally don't hear anything about achievement. They try to present to the world that Trump achieved nothing in office, but that is not the reality on ground. But I want to say that moving forward, I wish him well in the remaining part of his service here, or his service life to humanity, or whatever endeavor he chooses to, invest his time and then service to. But he's a great man. He's a resilient leader. Before I go, I also want to tell President Trump why you leave office. You have demonstrated courage. You have demonstrated resilience. He's a tough man. He's a man that says no, die hard. He fights till the end. He stood his ground till the end, and that is why some of us like him. For those qualities that he has demonstrated, there is something we have to learn from him as a friend and as a supporter. Thank you, President Trump, while you take a bow out of office. God be with you.
Thank you, President Trump. Your supporter here said you should endeavor to take another hobby in the field of civility. Your last take for Trump and America from TVN here.
Yeah, my last take is for Americans, whether Democrats, whether Republicans, whether Green Party, Tea Party, or whatever party, to know that they are the superpowers that smaller countries are looking upon politically or economically. Whatever goes wrong in American soil affects especially Nigeria, that is giant of Africa. Therefore, let there be politics without bitterness, let there be politics of all integration, let there be politics of all inclusiveness, let there be citizenry-based politics, let there be foresighted politics where they will think about their children, their great-grandchildren, and even the incoming generation in America. They shouldn't allow the drums of war to beat while they dance. Rather, peaceful resolution should be the remedy. The lender of last resort in this dispute should be a peaceful transition from Trump to Joe Biden. Anything of impeachment should be put aside because that will not help America.
Thank you very much, Comrade Dantata, Salihu, and Great Felix for coming on Spectacle today.
Thank you so much.
Well, you have heard from them. They have opined that peaceful transition is what America needs now rather than dancing the drum, the beating drums of supporters and even the instigators. This is where we'll stop today on Spectacle. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms. Drop your comments, and we are also open for doing business with you. Your advertorials can be taken beyond the reach of media for your pleasure. I am Daniel Atai. See you on Monday. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai.